Kev, what's going on, bro?
How did I know that you're gonna be wearing that tank, man? You're such a
Dude,
legend, bro.
honestly, I've been professional, right, with these IG lives. It's been like putting on a shirt, like trying to be. I'm trying to be something I'm not. But then all of a sudden
Be you, man.
I gotta be you, man. But then we
Do
get a,
you.
you know, you gotta put the guns away sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But dude, we got like a 90-degree heat wave, so
Oh, that's
down
awesome.
here
I'm
in
so jealous.
SoCal.
It's supposed to be 70 here in Jersey tomorrow, so I'm
Yeah, I love
hyped.
it. D Nice, what's good? SoCal, bro. Just letting some people pour in. This is gonna be one of my favorite talks, and most valuable, I think, that we're gonna be
No
delivering
doubt.
to people. MC, what's going on? So yeah, man. Do you want to give it a minute, or you want to pop right off?
Yeah, we can give it a minute. We can give
What
it a
you
minute.
what you been up to, man? I know. Kind of walk us through like a day in the life of an agent right now. What's going on, and like kind of what you've been up to in Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, a day in the life of an agent changes every day. I mean, I'm doing something new every day, and depending on where I am in the world, obviously now
Right.
being in Jersey in quarantine, it's changed quite a bit. But I think right now it's just trying to figure out what's going on. Everything's changing like literally every day at a time, and people from around the world are handling it differently. So it's super, super interesting. And I don't know if interesting is the right kind of adjective there, but
It is
it's
interesting.
difficult because you have like the NBA, you have here in the States and colleges and the NBA, the way that they're handling it.
Right.
Right. And the last I heard, who knows when the NBA comes back? Is it August? Is it October, November? What
Right.
happens to the draft? I don't know. But then like the overseas game is like, EuroLeague teams are taking big cuts and they're not sure what's going to happen for next year. I mean, up to 50%, which is crazy to think about.
Right.
And then you have like Taiwan just, finished their regular season yesterday and they have a champion. And,
Right.
then most other leagues are canceled. And, Belgium is kind of like acting like nothing happened and hoping that, they can start signing guys. And, Germany's trying to figure out how they can restart their playoffs. It's just like, it's really wild to see
How
who's,
different?
everyone's
Everything is,
operating
yeah.
differently. So, it's kind of a mess with like current contracts and, current clients and like recruiting with guys that are hoping to get overseas and when that's going to start. It's just
Right.
it's just like, it's chaos,
Yeah.
which is,
There's probably on your end, there's probably like no, like outline needs right now, like the teams because they don't know when the season's going to be starting, what the roster's going to look like. So it's hard to identify like, hey, hitting up people like you and like agents saying, hey, do you have a stretch forward that can pick and pop and do these kinds of things? And we don't know. So it's
right. And that's the other thing, because some teams have no idea, which delays it. Some teams have an idea because it's all, their season's over and they're at home trying to watch film. And then some teams are in between where their season's not officially over. They don't have an idea, but they're still asking for, let me get a point. And like, you don't even know who's going to be on your roster, man.
Right. Right.
So that's really difficult. And that's what I'm trying to kind of tell, like, I know we're going to touch on different age groups here, but like the current pros, it's just like, you got to take it one day at a time, man, because
Absolutely.
there's definitely going to be a lot of differences next season. And some teams that say, they're looking for something now, like, dude, it's May 1st, man. If the season started on time, like, guys could still be getting signed in August and September.
Yeah,
So it's a long way away and a lot can happen. So you just got to really, really take it one day at a time, just like everyone's doing, I guess.
I feel you, man. No, I mean, people get impatient, and I mean, it is the future you're talking about. So I totally get it. But like you said, you got to focus on what you can control, man. That's a huge thing to pick up on. And you can't control the current circumstances that are going on throughout the world. So just control yourself, getting better, and stay ready when that phone call comes.
Right.
You don't want to you don't want to have to be playing catch up. A mentor of mine always would say, dig your well before you're thirsty. You don't want to go in to a job, and you like do your work way before.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and then just stay ready. What's good, bro? Appreciate
Nice
you.
Took
Took me a while, man.
You're going to be getting comments all
the last time I saw him, I was in a sling, man. So that's love. Appreciate you, Has. It's my guy right there. So yeah, let's get kind of started, man. I guess people are pouring in, and I don't really know how to pin a thing on here of like the title of the talk, but we'll just kind of always touch back on. Obviously, this is agent Kevin Tarca, a great friend of mine. He's a up and coming agent within the basketball industry. Started his own agency about 3-4 years ago.
Yep, almost 3 years ago.
So yeah, he's taken on the brunt of the work. He's kind of doing it all on his own, and just like anything with that comes the trials and tribulations of you learn every in and out, which is awesome, being self-representative and working for yourself. So Kev played college basketball. He's from the Northeast, and so he knows what a day in the life of a hooper at the next level looks like, and he knows what it takes to become a pro. And I guess that's going to kind of be the premise of our talk of how do you add value at the next level, what it takes to get to the next level, because there's always a level to go beyond of where you're at, not necessarily saying, hey, this is what you need to do to become a pro. Like, we'll reach that. But if you're, you want to make varsity, that's a level up. Just understand that there's a lot of extra things that you need to do as a player on and off the court. And we're going to hopefully give you some of those little 1%ers, as I like to call them, moving forward. So let's just start off with like I know you hear this like all the time, and we sit down during summer league and talk about this, like, all the time. Right. So you talk about, like, I always get this question from players, like, how do I get an agent? Right. So it's such a, bland question, and it's just not really direct, but they don't, honestly, I think that way heavy percentage of people don't understand where to even start. Coach Bach, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. So so people always start like, well, how do I get an agent? So what would be your advice of, like, where to start, where to look, and those kinds of things?
So it's definitely a loaded question.
Right.
I think it really depends, and it starts with you identifying you, right? Taking a look in the mirror and kind of educating yourself on the reality of what pro basketball is and like where you fit in that scheme, and when I say that, I mean, like, okay, are you an NBA draft type guy? And then you should really be looking at, these questions in this type of agency, or are you not? And are you just trying to go overseas? And that's kind of a completely different topic, right? But, either way, it starts with, it's being real with you, like looking in the mirror, and then educating yourself on the process. After that,
Right.
I think this whole thing of like, where do I find an agent? Like, I want to be a pro, I need to go find an agent. I think right then and there can, it really shows you, like, it's not like, there's a certain number of guys that are going to be recruited by agents. And I think right there says, like, if you're looking for an agent and you're trying to go find an agent, that should tell you something.
Right.
Right. In all seriousness. And this is not me, on my high horse or telling you that you suck, or like, but like, it's encouraging you to realize that, okay, this is how good I am. And then B, like, okay, well, where do I go from here? So that's just the first and foremost. If you're going to look and search for an agent, all the power to you, but there's a reason. Like, the market doesn't lie. There's a reason for that, right? But it doesn't mean that you should not still do it, and there's a proper way to do that. So I would say, if you're in that group, which is the majority of people, like, we can sit here and talk about, what agents look for. We can get into that later. But if you're in that other group of, like, looking for an agent, look, get your highlight together. All right. Get your highlight together, get your resume together. If you're 27 and you haven't played in 4 years and your only experience was your JV team in high school, I think you have bigger issues, right?
Yeah, right.
But there are a ton of players, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of emails that I get of, like, hey, here's my resume, and it's like some school I've never heard of, and just like average stats, and just like, I can't help you though, right?
I think it's like putting into perspective, and not to cut you off, man, but I think that's so huge.
Good. It's good.
They don't understand, like, people and players, like, they don't understand the amount of things that are on a coach's and agent's plate. And so, like you just said, so being able to, like, make a highlight tape and to be able to, like, sell yourself is an asset itself. But you guys gotta understand that, like, to put into perspective, when I was a grad assistant at the University of Central Florida, back in 2015, 16, we posted a job free. Like, we were looking to add, like, a volunteer graduate manager to our staff. And I'm not exaggerating you. And within like a 5-6 hour span, we had over like 300 applicants. And so we had to, like, and you're just talking about, like, UCF men's basketball, and no knock on it. I love that program. That's my family. But, like, imagine, like, as you go up in the ranks, the amount of people that are trying to reach those kinds of things. And so agents don't, like, and it's no disrespect to you as a player or individual, but, like, agents and coaches don't have the time to sit down and look at every single, like, 10-minute highlight film, read all these resumes. Like, they got so many things on their plates. Like, you got to be creative in selling yourself.
Definitely, you have to differentiate yourself. Two things on that story, and I'm glad you said that. So, very similar situation, but last summer, I'll never forget. There's a coach from the 4th Division of Spain. I was just chatting with them, catching up. How are things going? And he said that they just posted, or just kind of put out there that they were looking for an import. And, like, here's a deal. 4th Division of Spain, $200 a month, and, like, that's it. And within a day, they had 400 emails, and it's just like. I mean, so on one hand, you have to realize that's how many people want it, right?
Right.
And then on the other hand, it's just like, I mean, wow, like, how are you going to differentiate and as a team or an agent, like, what incentive do you have? Now let's go to the business side of it. Like, what incentive do you have? So if I get emails from guys and they're like, yeah, this is why you should sign me. Well, you have to understand that, yes, I do this for passion. I love helping guys, but that doesn't pay bills either. So it's that balance. So if I sign you and I spend 8 months trying to get you a job, and then I get you something for $100 a month in the 4th division of Spain, well, what did I just earn per hour? Like, my commission is, first of all, probably not happening. I'm not even getting a commission, right? Because I don't give commissions in the 4th division of Spain. And if I do, so let's just say that I get $100 for that. Nah, sorry, man.
Yeah,
I'm about to go mow the lawns of my neighbors for about a couple hours, and I'm gonna get $100.
It's got to be.
It's just a reality.
Yeah, it really is.
So take that as a message. Like, for you to just send out your resume and your highlights, you're better off investing in yourself to exposure camps, and you're better off differentiating yourself, going to like Euro Pro Basket, the training academy in Spain, and just getting over there, or going directly to teams and say, hey, I'm going to go play for free. I'll hop on a plane tomorrow. I mean, they don't have much risk. Cool.
Right.
But for you to sit there and wait for someone to say, hey, this agent's going to get me, like, he wants me, he's going to get me a job. It's just not a reality. It's not a reality.
It's an uphill climb. It really is. And like, I want to keep touching on what you just said. It's the same as like, I want to play college, right? It's kind of like the similar thing. And athletes, you got to understand, like, just in life, man, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you, right?
Yep.
And so
Love that.
You're not going to get jobs or an agent or going like college offers without really intertwining your network, right? So you have to create great relationships and show that you're dependable, that you're an asset to a team, and that you're coachable. And like, there's so many different variables that pour into that. But a coach isn't going to stick their neck out and say, hey, take my player at the next level, knowing that they're going to be a problem and give you a bad name. And nor are your college coaches going to be recommending you to agents that they know and trust, unless they truly believe that you're a professional athlete. So if you think about you want to play for professional basketball at the next level, let's say, right, go from college to pro, you better represent what it takes to be a professional for 4 years straight. It's kind of a job interview to get to the next level. So focus on where you are, but live your life and have your daily actions be to where you want to be and where you aspire to be. Don't think about like, you know what, when I'm a senior, I'm going to change my habits and crank it up a notch. Like, that's just not reality. You should be acting like, go see your college coach and talk to them when you're a freshman and be like, hey, I know it's a long shot, and I know I have a lot from here to here in between, but please, what does it take to play at the next level? And can you put me in those positions? And just stay on the same page, like state your intentions off the bat, man. It's like what Kevin's saying. He might get 400 emails for players like, please represent me, please represent me. And I will tell you from personal experience that Kev is picking up his phone and he's calling people like myself and other people that he trusts. And he's saying, yo, Tone, you got any guards that can shoot or, operate out of the pick and roll? Like, they're looking for people that they trust, and that's how they're going to find it. So have great relationships where you are, man. And that'll pay so many dividends. Okay.
Huge. And relationships is kind of should be the overarching theme here, because like, that's what it means. I mean, are there outliers? Sure. Like, there are going to be guys that, are just so athletic that they can help a team, and maybe they're an asshole or, whatever, but like, you have to use your relationships and your character to your, to help you any way you can. So to your point, and this, I'm glad you brought it up, is if I get 400 emails, like, I really do. I really try to get back to people, at least say, hey, I can't help you, or hey, go to this website, or hey, whatever. I really do. Emails and DMs and texts and calls. And, but if I get a text message from you saying, hey, this guy, not sure if he, if he can help you or whatever, but I can vouch for him. He's a good dude. Take a look at his highlight. He just emailed you. He asked me for your email. I'd say, of course. I'm going to scroll through those 400 emails. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to give it priority, because that's how relationships work.
Hey, man, that's how
networking works.
That's how the world works, man.
So I guess that gem for you, if you're listening, is, if you're sending out 100 emails to agents and coaches, like, don't just do that. Find that as close of 1 degree of separation as you can. Use your own network. If that's your college coach, if you didn't play in college, if that's a coach, if that's your sister's cousins, whoever who's a pro, like, try and use that degree of relationships, that degree of separation, to reach out and say, at least get someone to vouch for you, because if you can, it's going to help you tenfold.
Oh, dude, that's gold. And for those of you who are just coming in, appreciate you all tapping in. Again, we're talking about what it takes to play at the next level and kind of just giving life advice. Appreciate you guys coming through, and Mom supporting me still day one. Thanks for joining.
Nice.
Jacob. He's a video coordinator at UCF men's basketball. Worked together for a while. Great dude, and got a lot of people hopping on, and they live this stuff firsthand, man. We see it, So yeah, so we'll talk about. So we talk about like getting yourself out there, right? Getting in front of an agent, like that's half a battle, right? And being able to establish those relationships, relationships at the end of the day, man, in my opinion, that's all that life boils down to is the relationships that you have with your people. So really cherish that, really value those, and treat every relationship you have now as it's the most important one, because you don't know what that's going to do down the road, man. I get that question a lot. I get a lot of up and coming trainers like, I want to work with NBA guys and I want to do this. And it's like, if you focus on, and it's for any business and any aspect of life, if you focus on what you have in front of you and you treat little Timmy that can't make a left-handed layup because he's 10 years old, and if you treat that person like your number one client and you add value to them, you hype that person up, you make them better, you invest in them, that's going to pay, and people are going to see that, and everything, word of mouth, man, it's going to spread. Then people are going to, recommend you to higher level players, and the dominoes fall. It's the same thing as being a player and how you treat. Don't just be like, man, this is, it's bullshit. Like, it's just a JUCO. Like, I'm just trying to get on to the next level. Focus on where you are now and control what you can control. I think that's a huge thing.
I like the end part too. Control what you can control, especially now. Like, you have to. But on that point, I think it boils down to, ask yourself why you're doing it. Like if you're, if somebody asks you, hey, how do I train NBA players? Like, you're clearly not doing it because you love training players. You're doing it because you want to just kind of be an NBA trainer or have that title. Right. Same thing goes for overseas. Like, there are too many guys that I want to be pro. Right. I want to be pro. I want to go overseas and post on the gram and take a selfie. And no, like, that's just not the reality. The reality of it is, if you're in that situation, you might go to Kazakhstan or to Ukraine or to a village in Hungary or to wherever, and they're not going to speak your language. You got to figure out how to get to practice. The food might suck. It might be cold. Like, everything that you think is like cool about overseas basketball is not. And that's for the majority of people. That's the reality. Are there other situations and, obviously other high level guys that, I like to work with? Like, of course, like, I want to go sign Zion Williamson. I want to go sign guys that are going to go make $100K directly overseas. Those guys are there. They'll come. But that's just not the majority of people.
So let's tie this in then. So what are some of the main things that you look for, or when you're, if you're deciding, let's say you have one more person you can represent with your portfolio for that year, and it's down to like 5 candidates, whatever the case may be. What are things that like you look for, and maybe it might be intangible? There's, just so you know, wherever you are in the world, there's 100, if not thousands of other players that are just like you, same kind of skill set. And so again, we talk about how do we differentiate ourselves? What are things that you look for, maybe intangibly off the court, even on the court, that makes you want to represent somebody?
Yeah, so hundreds of thousands more likely. Yes, there really are. So, but it's a good question. So I would say it boils down to 2 different sides, obviously the basketball side and then off-court stuff. And it depends on the situation. So if there's a team that is in a certain country overseas and they're looking for a sniper shooter, then I'm going to be looking for a guy that can really shoot the shit out of the ball. And when I say that, let's just talk about some basketball stuff. I don't mean like score 10 points a game and have 33% from 3. Like, that's okay. Yeah. But like, everyone does that. I'm looking for a guy that, is consistently shooting 47% from 3 or top 10 in the country from 3. It doesn't matter if you're D1, D2, D3, whatever. We can get to that. You shoot, but if you can shoot, you're a shooter and you can do it consistently. So that's one thing. And then I guess, just generally speaking, everyone will say a lot like, oh, I averaged 27 points a game or this or that. Well, that's because you had the ball in your hands and that you're good. Right. But, and that's great if you're maybe going to the 4th division of Spain, because you got to do everything. You got to score. You're there to win. But what if, you're a little bit level up, or what if a team's looking for you to play a role? Well, how do you play with the ball when it's not in your hand? Can you add value and then defend? I don't know. I really don't know. So scoring doesn't matter either at some cases. Right. So now to, like, instead of case specific, the general stuff on the court, like I personally love the intangibles, basketball stuff, right? So I'm going to the game early and I'm seeing how you walk onto the floor. And if you're, sporting the new sexy, headphones, not listening to your teammates and taking selfies and giving high fives before the game, then like, cool. Like maybe you are the best and you deserve that, but not my type of guy. Right. Like when you turn the ball over and coach takes you out, like how are you reacting? It used to be my biggest pet peeve in college, and there wasn't very many guys that did this. And if there were, they didn't last on our team at Quinnipiac long. But you come out of the game, you're sulking, and you don't give It's
Yo,
corny
that
stuff, right?
that is gold. Because
But it's huge.
body
It's the
language is
same,
communication, man, and that turns coaches and agents off so much.
and it's the same way that I tell guys that are trying to get a college scholarship. Body language is huge. How are you going to react when you turn the ball over? How are you going to react when your teammate makes a great play? Like, this stuff isn't, it's
Everything,
not
dude.
rocket
We look
science.
at
It's not rocket
everything.
science,
No, I love
right?
it.
So yes, you got to be able to put the ball in the hoop, but if you're not going to step in and take a charge, or if you're going to be an idiot in warmups, or if you're going to be, an asshole to the media after, like, those
Right.
are, I can't help you.
No, because
Right?
you're representing you essentially at the same time. So.
Of course, you want me to send you to a foreign country where you've never been before, and have you do that, and my name's attached to that? No,
Right.
no chance.
No chance.
So then off the court stuff, it really does matter, because for me specifically, and then all of the people in that category that we're talking about that are the majority of guys that want to be pros, you need to have a passion outside of the game. You don't have to know what it is.
Right.
But if I call you and I say, hey, like, who are you? Who are you as a person? Like, what do you like to do? And they're just like, oh man, I'm going to be a pro. I'm going to be a pro. I'm going to make all the money in the world. I'm going to be a pro. Like, I love the ambition, but I can't help you, because the ball can't stop bouncing.
There's more to life than basketball, man.
And the question is, not only how can you use basketball to open doors for the rest of your life, but how can I help you use basketball to do that? And if the ball does stop bouncing, if you do get hit by a truck tomorrow, God forbid, if you lose your right hand, if the coronavirus hits and cancels the season, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit in your couch and do ball handling drills until 2022, or are you going to simultaneously get better each day, but find a skill or passion that you can do for the rest of your life?
And I want to stop you on that, because that is so pure and that is so real. And I want you guys to understand that that's somebody that wants the best out of their player, out of that individual. And you want to play for people at any level, and you want to be surrounded by people like Kev, what he just said. It's not about like, oh, what can I do? What's the best thing? What can I get out of you to make like a team better, or like this thing better, right? That's a transaction, right? Kev is what he's talking about, is the transformation, right? And I always talk about transformational leadership, and that's just what you talked on, bro. That is so money. He cares about, like, and when you have people in front of you, this goes to no matter what, like, you should want to take what they are, because at the end of the day, everyone's a human being and everyone has a life beyond whatever they are. What they do is not their identity. And so setting somebody up, like, he doesn't want just a basketball player, because he understands that he can represent a human being and somebody who's passionate about things, maybe wants to go into business ventures together, like has other things that drive them. And then this way you're able to establish a way more realistic relationship and a deeper connection and a better understanding of how that person operates, what's valuable to them in life. Is like, is your family everything to you? Like, do we need to make sure that in my contract, so I need to make sure that I have 2 round-trip tickets for your family to come catch you play? Like, those are things that is vital for him to know, and it's a dialogue to have. But it's so, I thank you so much for just bringing up the point that, like, I care more about what you do off the court and who you are as a human being, because those are the people you want to be surrounded with. So if you do have the opportunity to ever play professional basketball, surround yourself and try and find somebody like this guy right here to represent.
My man JT Comedy. Yeah, that's another reason you signed with me.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. But you said it, transactional, right? It's not transactional.
No.
As cliche as it sounds, it's not transactional for me, but unfortunately parts of the business are broken. The math doesn't make sense. And it's a lot of transaction, because not necessarily bad guys as agents or deals, but like a lot of it is transactional. So, a lot of deals are done.
It's a business.
Yeah. A lot of deals are done because, like, hey, go take this job in X country for $100,000, because, I can broker that deal and I can make $10,000 out of it. Versus, I've actually had situations like that. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Take this job for $60,000. Is it a big difference? Yeah. Take this job. Trust me, because in 2 years, that's going to be a stepping stone to open up jobs for you for $500K, right? And not only that, it's not just about the money. You're going to go to that $100K job, and that's going to be at a team that might have a budget now, but what if the sponsor pulls out? Or what if they have 3 FIBA cases against them? Or what if I don't trust the coach and you're going to get cut the next day? It sounds good.
It sounds good. Yes.
But a lot of these things players don't understand. You're just looking at the now and the instant gratification versus all the details, and that's why you need the right type of, not just agent, obviously agent, but the right type of people around you to say, whoa, man, think about all the details. It sounds great, but like, you have to weigh the pros and cons. You have to understand the markets. You have to know what team you're playing for, and it's really important.
Dude, that's gold. And having the support system, I think, is huge, and being able to, like, not necessarily check ego, but just be totally transparent with your players and those kinds of things. Because from like a coach standpoint and things, when you have like, if I have a player and they're moving on to the next level, and what does everyone want to do? What's sexy? I want to play Division I basketball, coach. How do I get there? And it's like, okay, so let's be realistic. You're like a fringe. You might like, I might have some low level contacts, like, you know, low Division I schools where you might be able to go ride the pine for 3 years, and you might end up playing 10 minutes a game your senior year, and like, cool, you can say you're a Division I basketball player, or you go to this amazing D2 program and you average, you know, 30 minutes a game over your career, like, and you have an impact with like a winning program. Like, what sounds better to you? And if your answer is, I'd rather go to a D1 school and ride the bench, then like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I guess I failed you. But like, to be able to see what's best in the interim, like, that's to overlook that and to look at what's best for you in the long run is huge, man. And I think that you got to have the trust. That's a two-way street. You got to have the trust in your agent and those coaches, so you can get the most value for what you do. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Eric Demers, he's in this live chat right now. He's one of our guys, part of the J-Law B-Ball family. He played at Gordon College, a Division III school up in the Boston area, and he's the NCAA leading scorer at every level. And he averaged something like 33 points per game. You know, he led the entire country, and he's going to have a professional basketball playing career for a long time. And he's coachable. And he could have went to a Division I school, I guarantee it. But he ended up going to Gordon College, and he's their all-time leading scorer. He broke one of my other buddy, Aaron Triggs' records, actually. And so, man, it's honestly, what do you want to get out of it and get the most out of it? Because you're going to put hey, I was a Division I basketball player, that's cool, but now you're working at Enterprise and you hate your life. Or you went to you know, I'm just going to keep using you, E. I went to Gordon College, D3 school, and you blossomed into the man because you had creativity, you had a green light, you had these things, and then you have 10, 15 more years of basketball playing left in your career. And so, like, what do you want? What's your end game? I think you have to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and be transparent with yourself as well.
That question's huge. So I think two things on that. One, what you brought up at the beginning is too many guys think that they're a failure if they don't get a Division I scholarship.
Right.
Too many guys think they're a failure if they don't go pro, and it's so far from that. Even talking about basketball, they're clearly, like the example of your guy who you just mentioned, Eric, right? Eric.
Mm-hmm.
He, you know, you don't have to go Division I to be successful and to play at the next level. Does it mean that it's a different situation? It might be a little bit more difficult. No questions about it.
Right.
But from a pure basketball standpoint, would you rather ride the pine and score 3 points a game Division I, or be the man and break records Division III? That's just pure, right? But the bigger question is, what is your reason? So, like, what is your reason? Do you want to be a pro? Do you want to be the best basketball player? I'll give you another example, and this just happens to be my story of the opposite. Is I knew, I was real with myself. I looked in the mirror and said, let's see how tall I am, how skilled I am, how many offers I have. Am I going to be a pro? Probably not. So how do I want to spend the next 4 years of my life? Do I want to be a Division III basketball player, which could be awesome, and I'm sure that I could find the right fit. But I didn't have too many schools kind of recruiting me hard, except for a couple of schools I wasn't really a big fan of, and they weren't the best academics compared to some of the other schools I could get into.
Right.
Or do I want to go a path where nothing's guaranteed, but I want to go get my education and do something that I'm going to be happy for 4 years? And then if basketball is on that, that's a bonus. And obviously for me, there was risks and rewards, and there was zero chance that I was not going to make the team, because it's the choice that I decided to make. But yeah, I decided to go walk on to a Division I team, and guess how many points I averaged? It's not a number. It's 7 career total points, right? So like, my reason was not to, to go pro. My reason was to use basketball experience, however that is for your journey, to open doors for the rest of my life. And it did. And it did, beautiful. Right? So
that's beautiful, man.
You have to ask yourself, what it basically means is, comparison is the thief of all joy. So at whatever stage you're at, stop comparing, because there's going to be than you. Like, there's going to be guys that sign big contracts overseas, and any contract overseas, and you killed them for 4 years in your conference. It's going to happen.
Right.
Maybe, but or their network is better. These things happen, right? But it's part of it. It's real. Is it fair? I don't know, but life's not fair.
Life's not fair, man. And it's such gold that, like, you keep spitting, it's like unbelievable knowledge. I'm so glad that we're doing this. You keep talking about, like, well, first you got to be able to identify like what's your why and what can you get out of this. But you got to be able to, like we talked about earlier, you got to be able to control what you can control and like put yourself in the best position to succeed at no matter what your situation is, because everybody's situation is different. Timing is like there's so many, so many aspects that go into what it takes to play at the next level. What it takes, like you could have been killing a kid. We'll go down to the amateur level. You could have grew up with a kid and, he's crosstown rival and he plays for a different AAU program or whatever the case may be. And a coach may happen to catch him playing and not you playing. And he got a scholarship and you didn't. You're just like, man, I'm so much better than Joe Smith. Like, this is bullshit. Like, well, and then you're just like, you're hung up and you're like, oh, he's here and I'm not. And then that could literally be a downward spiral of your basketball career. And then he just said, don't let it rob you of your joy, man. Like comparison is the thief of all joy. It really is. And just enjoy your journey because it's yours. It's unique. And you have your own ways around it, man. And I love it. I think let's kind of transition to, I know that you played and you were able to walk on and have success as a player yourself. I've been around a lot of players, who have reached beyond what people put their ceiling as. And I think that that's a huge thing because a lot of people are like, hey, let's be realistic. You're not this and you're not that. That's not to say that people don't believe in you. It's just to say like what you're kind of not right now. And I think that when you sit down with players, coaches, people maybe in your circle, you need to kind of set like a floor for yourself and a ceiling and to kind of be like, this is where you should want to get to, like baseline, and this is realistic, but your potential is here. And then you have to, take the old Tony Robbins saying like, if you want to be a pro, your potential is to be here. How do we work back? And how do we make a plan for it? And so a story that I want to share with everyone is actually somebody I had the pleasure of coaching. His name is Matt Williams. He was a 5-year guard for the University of Central Florida. And I'm going to share the story with you, and it's about what it takes to make it to the next level. Because what you said, there's hundreds of thousands of kids and basketball players that want the same job or get to the same place as you, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? So Matt Williams. Matt was, I think, a 2-star recruit coming out of Jones High School in Orlando, Florida. Blue collar family, great family, hardworking. He had like a couple different brothers or sisters. And so just a really good family person. Learned his work ethic from his father and those kinds of things. And you could see the carryover. So he comes to UCF, 2-star guard, not a lot of expectations. He's somebody that can maybe come in and he was a really good shooter. Okay. He can put him in the corner, knock down some shots, yada, yada, yada. Matt instead said, no, with all due respect, he was very quiet, probably kept to himself and said, I'm actually going to be way better than what my expectations are. And I'm going to prove it. And he's going to let his work speak for itself. So what Matt did is, and I kid you not, and he might've overworked himself a little bit. He battled some injuries, but I just want to put into perspective of what it takes to make. So Matt's at Division I school, University of Central Florida. They're okay school at the time. It's competing in the Conference USA. So Matt gets there. He literally, and I kid you not, he's 6 a.m. He's getting a lift with the strength and conditioning coach. Then he goes on court and he would bust his ass for like an hour. And when I say bust his ass, I mean like intentional with what you work in, get on court for like an hour, map it out, and you're full sweat, your game action, whatever the case may be, right? Don't waste your time. So he would get on court for about an hour, hour and a half. Matt would go to class, take care of what he needed to. Okay, that's great. He would come back. Okay, so he's already deposited about 2.5 hours into his day towards his craft. He would come back after he would eat lunch. He would get treatment, get his body prepped with the athletic training staff. Then he would get on court early and he would start getting shots up, get his body right. So then practice would start. We would go hard for 2 hours about every day, let's just say. So now he just went. So there's another about 3 hours after practice. Guys are leaving. They might got to go to class. They want to go hang out with their friends, go to the dorms, whatever the case may be. Matt would stay after and grab a manager, grab a coach, whatever the case may be, and he would shoot. Okay, he'd get spot shots up. Then, I kid you not, so that's just like, so now he's put in about 5 to 6 hours of his craft in. Then he would come back at like midnight and he would work out again. And like, dude, I'm not just like trying to say this to toot anybody's horn or to like make somebody look good, because I've coached a lot of players who've done the exact opposite. Matt he got hurt a few times, had to redshirt. He ended up having a phenomenal career at UCF. I think he's like their all-time three-point leading shooter. He played a year with the Miami Heat in the NBA. And what more could you want as a basketball player than to play professional basketball at that level? Now Matt plays, I think, First Division Greece. He's had a lot of success overseas. But just so you are aware, it takes those kinds of things and those deposits And it's not like hey, I'm going to be great this month and I'm going to kind of take it off because it's season. No, it's about what you do consistently, how you outwork those hundreds of thousands of people that want it just as much as you do to separate yourself. It's not about where you start. It's about where you finish.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, I think, again, to reiterate the first point, me sharing this information and us talking about it is not to discourage people. It's to be real, because you still need to believe in yourself more than anyone else does. You have to invest in yourself, and you have to double down on you. I'm doing it now. You're doing it now. I mean, no one's going to believe in me more than I believe in myself ever. I mean, I hope I can find that person, right? But
maybe our parents. We don't understand that yet, but maybe. You're right.
Maybe hindsight's 20/20. But but the point of that is that, like, if somebody tells you you're not going to be an NBA player, okay, like how many people told Matt he wasn't going to be getting any minutes? So
yeah,
yes, you have to outwork people and you have to prove people wrong. Like, that's for sure. Like, if I tell you that I think that you suck, or if I tell you that, like, just being real, like, you're not a pro. I mean, what am I, God? No. Like, so it doesn't matter. I could be an idiot.
Right.
I could be completely wrong.
Right.
I'm just telling you what I think to be real, right? So you could say, hey, respect that, but I'm going to go get a job in the first division of whatever country. Great. I'm going to be rooting for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It isn't here to discourage you. We're here to encourage you in the right ways. And then the point that you had on Matt's story is, like, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to where you want to be? So guys say that they want it, and Matt said that he wanted it, but he did it. His actions were louder than his words. So a lot of guys I hear today, I want it, right? But then I see the video games with the friends, and I hear I want to get up early and do the work, and they do for summer camp that week. Right. And then after that, they don't.
But it's like, what are you doing Saturday night after you're playing? And I heard that you were at, this bar and that. Like, you gotta understand that we have kids, and so we hear these things.
Yeah. So what are you willing to sacrifice? How bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to say, sorry, boys, like, I'll see you next year. I'm about to put in a year of work.
Right.
Again, that also has to be balanced with, like, this is life, so enjoy it. So just understand the decisions you're making. So don't say that you're going to do whatever it takes to get there, and we don't get there. It's because that you were at the bars, you're playing video games. Like, that's fine. Like, maybe you find value in joining that. I do. I love hanging with my friends.
Right. Who doesn't, right?
Right. So, like, you have to balance that. And then, I think another important part of that story is, and I'll be the first to tell you, like, everyone's like, oh, Kev, like, you work so hard, man. Like, yeah, I do work hard. I do, but it only gets you so far. Right. Like, I work, I worked really hard my whole life. And then, like, but why didn't I get an opportunity at a bigger agency? Right. Because I get it. Like, hard work only gets you so far. I wasn't bringing an NBA player to the table. Cool. So, like, there was that for me, but I didn't say, oh, that sucks. I'm not going to be an agent. No, I started my own company, jumped off the cliff, and found my wings on the way down. That's what you got to do.
I love
right?
it.
So hard work only goes so far, but, like, in basketball. So, in other words, like, if you get in the gym for 12 hours a day and shoot threes for 12 hours a day and get better, like, great, you might get better, but you still might not be a great shooter.
Right.
But that work ethic is going to translate in life, not just basketball too. So, like, the tying that with the goal of, like, being a pro is not really the right matchup. So it's like, am I getting better, and am I learning that life skill set?
And dude, that's so money. And that's, like, to touch on, like, what you were talking about. And for those of you who are just pouring in, appreciate you keep pouring in. And Dad, what's up? I got both parents in here now. I'm feeling the love right now. So Kev played at Quinnipiac, and I want you to understand that what he just talked about and what he was talking about earlier with his playing career, it's all about the journey and what you learn along the way. And so many people get tied up and hung up on what's at the end of the road. Like you just said, all right, I want to be an NBA player. I want to make it to the league. And so they bust their ass for 4 or 5 years. They're in the gym 12 hours a day, and then they tell themselves, I'm a failure. I didn't reach that goal. That's so wrong. I couldn't be more wrong. Like, everything that you did along the way is teaching you something. It's teaching you work ethic. It's teaching you responsibility, respect. Like, these things are real life skills that will make you successful in the real world. But we have, like, as a culture, we get so hung up on the end result. Like, oh, if I don't get an A on my test, I'm a failure. What's every team's goal at the beginning of the year? You think a coach goes in and goes, we're probably going to finish 10th in conference this year. Like, let's go get it. Well, guess what? You should transfer if someone ever says that. Like, you shouldn't have went there in the first place. That's on you. Every single coach wants to win a championship, win the conference. Like, those are these goals. But it's like, what you do every day, winning practices every day, what you put in every day is like making you better and what you're learning. You can't just get like, oh, you know what, who cares if we win 10, 15, 20 games? All we care about is a conference tournament. Like, no, you got to focus on what's in front of you in hand and understand the journey along the way, because you should set high expectations for yourself. You should bet on yourself, just like we've both done. And like you said, sometimes things aren't going to work out, but what's your course of action? Are you hung up on yourself? You're like, I'm a failure, like I didn't reach it, or you just take a new course of action, or create a new route to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, the course of action piece is great because, again, we all want to be in the NBA. Great. I had a conversation with, obviously I won't say names, with a kid that was introduced to me, and I wanted to give some insight the other day. And he said, look, and this was a non-Division I guy, who I think's not bad. He could play, but he's going to have a tough path. And, he said to me, I don't know if the overseas path is for me. Like I want to go to the NBA. Okay, well, great. Well, like, are you going to get drafted? No. Well, okay. Are you going to be in the NBA this year? Well, no, you're not. So am I telling you that you're never going to be in the NBA? No. Am I telling you you're probably not going to be in the NBA? Yes.
Yeah.
But am I telling you not to dream about it? No. That could be 3 years out, and you can develop a plan to go there, right? And on this subject, it was like textbook answers, like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if, $1,000 a month is kind of like, it's not really my value. Like, I can get a 9-to-5 job. Like, yes, you can. Go do that, because that's the decision you have to make.
Right.
I don't give a shit that you were the second team all freaking superhero of your league. Like, it's not taking away those accomplishments. Congrats. But I don't care, and that's not going to get you a job.
Right.
Teams don't care. What do you think? You walk on to, you check into the game and you're like, on your jerseys, like, second team all superhero. Yeah. Like, oh, watch
that's out the window. No, that's out the
it doesn't matter. You have to re-earn that. So having that NBA dream, cool. I have it still, but I know it's not realistic. So I'm taking steps to play pickup and try and get there. And if I get better, great. But have that goal to not just to get there tomorrow, but take those steps. It is that process that is the fun part. So have a realistic step. I'm going to go overseas. I don't care if they pay me in freaking Orbit gum and a roof over my head and coffee, and great. I'm going to go dominate everyone and take that next step. But if you're not willing to do that,
if you love it, you'll find a way. And
if you're not willing to do that, then you're going to have a shitty time. Trust me. You're going to be at home. You're going to be, at home on the couch, wearing your second team all superhero jersey.
I love it. You know what? I think that's a perfect thing to transition to the next. You talk about, I get this question a lot too, is people are turned off because like the overseas may not be as sexy. It's not as viewed. We don't get behind access and those kinds of things. Kind of walk us through what a day in the life of is an average, basketball player overseas in Europe, Asia, whatever the case may be, just to kind of share some insight on what it's like, because it's not the glamour. It's not like it is. There's a lot of positives that come with it, but there's also a lot of struggles, and a lot of great players who could have made hundreds of thousands of dollars. They back out because there's a lot of reasons, and I'll kind of let you touch on that. Yeah. I know you represent clients all over the country, and I'd like to hear your input.
Yeah, it's definitely depends on the case. I mean, being in the second division of Germany is very different than the fourth division of Spain. Being in, being in Turkey, and it's very, very different. Mm-hmm. It also depends on where you are in your career, and it also depends on you as a person. Like, is the reason why you think it's not going to be fun or worth it because you have a family at home? Well, yeah, rightfully so. No shit, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much.
Right.
But some of the things that people get lost in or I guess struggle with is like the language barriers, just usually if it's guys that are coming from if you're coming from college anywhere, unless you're really, really grinding it out, you're coming from a Division I program, Division II, Division III, wherever. Like here in the States, it's just different, man. Like it's not, it's like a luxury here, mm-hmm. right? Even at the highest levels overseas, at the EuroLeague, trust me, I've been in almost every one of those arenas and it's great, but it's like, some of them are fantastic, but some of them are not. And they're still not as good as your college facilities. So think about that $100 a month job. Like you think they have a weight room? Hell no. So you're going to the weight room with freaking, random people from town. If you have that ability with the team, like you have to use Google Translate on the menus, and actually sometimes you have to go outside your comfort zone and ask because you don't have Wi-Fi to use Google Translate. And like it's just, you're going to go to practice and some of your teammates are not going to speak the language and you might not understand a single word, not all cases, some cases.
Right, right.
The weather might suck. There might be absolutely nothing to do. It's just the reality. You got to find your own way to practice. You don't have a student manager that's preparing your meals and saying, "Hey, let me double check your essay for you." No.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is a lot of downtime too, right? So you wake up, you go to practice, you get your work in, and entry level is again different than like, you know, high level, where entry level is like, look, even in some good respected leagues, there's dudes on your team that are like doctors or that are like like it's just, they have real jobs, or they're 18, 17-year-old students. Like, it's just the reality of it. So what are you gonna do with your downtime? There is a lot of downtime. So that's where people get tripped up. Like, okay, I just practice at 9. I don't have practice till tomorrow. What do I do? You know, so it really depends. You know, I just think you have to, no matter where you go, you're going to have to understand that there are a certain level of uncertainties there as well, and certain level of like, shit, this is going to be uncomfortable, but let me lean into that uncomfort and, you know, become comfortable being uncomfortable, and just kind of figure it out, because it's going to help in everything else. You can learn a new culture, learn a new language, at least to say, you know, hello and goodbye, and try new food. And if you're not about that life, and you're not, it doesn't mean you're a bad person, but like, it's not for you.
Right.
It's not for you. Stay home, you know, get the new KFC chicken sandwich, or, you know, make yourself, you know, these whatever beautiful pancakes that you like making, because you know how to get the ingredients from the grocery store. That's fine.
Right.
But like, overseas is not for you then.
It's not. It is definitely not. It takes a different breed, man.
It really does. And again, most of this is because the majority of guys are starting that way. Now, I will tell you that, like, if you work at it, I mean, you can have an awesome career, and it can be an amazing. You can make up to millions of dollars, and you can have a new passport, and you can
travel the world,
like travel the world and be a celebrity. And I mean, I've been, you know, with some former teammates in places like you know, like Belgrade, Serbia, when he was playing there, when James Felding was playing there, and Athens, Greece, like going out with him on a night, it's like I couldn't even say what's up with him. People are just taking selfies and getting autographs. It's like there could be an awesome time, but like it doesn't happen overnight. It's just not it's not for the reality of people. So that's why we're having this talk. Right.
No such thing as overnight success, man. Yep. None whatsoever. That's, man, we've dropped a lot. We dropped a lot of gold, and I appreciate you for it. So. And we got another Tarca in here. He's ready.
Oh no, he doesn't play any defense, this guy.
See, you got to be able to do it on both ends of the floors. Come on now. I love it. What do you let's talk about, so we talked about like the day in the life, what the struggle's like. What do you find to be kind of the best way for players to kind of separate? I know we talked about separations and what you can do for yourself. What have you found like the best way for players to prepare themselves so they're ready for these kinds of jobs? And I know that that's a lot has to do with the dialogue that we do, and I know that we know this. Kind of feed information for everybody else who's tuning in. Like, what is it? What should a player be doing? Maybe what kind of questions should they be asking, or how should they be conveying different things with their agents, and keeping make sure that their skills coach or whoever they're working with, they're all on the same page. Like, what's kind of like a daily practice in that, and what have you found to be successful?
I know
it's kind of loaded, man. I know it's
loaded question. So in terms of, I mean, just the last thing that's, you know, the last question that's on mine, you know, what can you do to work on your game to be successful? I mean, I think, you know, like, obviously your role is going to depend on what team you go to, but, you know, just be you. So if you're wondering what to get better at, what to work on, like, I don't want to see you being good at everything. I'd rather see you be great at what you do, right? So like, you can get paid a lot of money to drop 10 assists a game. If that's all you do, that's fine. You know,
right. And play defense. And play defense. So.
And play defense. You know, clear example, Dennis Rodman, you know, had how many games with 0 points and 20 rebounds? You know, like, that was kind of his thing. But, you know, you can always work on handling the ball. You can always work on your things that, you know, you need to get better at. But in terms of from on the court, like, there's not this magic button to say, hey, I need to get better at this, so I'm going to be better next year. Just continue to improve on your game, right? Everyone thinks way too hard about that. Continue to improve on your game.
It's the old adage, like, star in your role. Like, focus, like, Dennis Rodman, 20 rebounds a game. He was literally, was he a 5-time NBA champion? Like, I don't know how many.
Double down on yourself.
Like, dude, you can literally be like, there's people, like, we've run into I've ran into the issue, I would call it, so many times. We'd be like, hey, if you buy into being a 3-and-D type player, where you knock down threes and shots and you shoot at like over 45% clip, and you lock up like 1 through 4, you could play at NBA level and make $10 million a year. But some guys like, nah, fuck that. I want to go drop 20 and just show everybody that, like, I'm the man. Like, let's get it. And then you're like, well, you might be playing in the G League for a year or two, or you might be in the 4th division Spain making $100 a year. Like, that's on you. But star in your role, know what you're great at, and have that dialogue with your coach and your agent.
Yeah, I'd rather you work on your mindset and have that mindset and be adaptable. Like, yeah, you're going to work on your game, get freaking better at your 3-point shot if you're a 3-point shooter, and then understand that, okay, you might have to do some other things to play a little bit different role. So that's the main thing. I'm trying to think of what was the beginning part?
Talking about just like, I'm just talking about like, because I want to be able to share how important like having a dialogue is with everybody. And so like for like, I don't think people understand the connectivity between like the relationship that's going on between like me, you, the coaches back in, let's just say Serbia, like the importance of everyone being on the same page and so to speak. And like, what practice can players do practices can players do or have in their arsenal that are continuously making them better and making sure that they're staying on the same page with every component going into the piece. Yeah,
and Jaquil just commented to know that's great. Talk to them about the mental aspect of it. You know, like Jaquil's since he's in your support of me, I'll tell the same story I told yesterday. Like, he's just a great example of it because, you know, the talks that we had early was like, because look, Jaquil was at Purdue and he was at Hofstra. He's a great college player, so like he's got a great resume, and I told him he's gonna be a great pro. But like I told him from the beginning, shit might not be easy. So that was the conversation that I told him to, you know, stop worrying about like making your jump shot. Like, work on your mindset of like, you're going to be good. If you want to be a pro, here's the mindset of the 5-year plan, and like, you're going to be a pro, but it's going to be like this. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like this. Maybe you go there and you score 25 points the first game and you have 60 rebounds. Great. Maybe it works out, but that's not likely. So if you go there and you do get injured or cut, which happened to him, like, are you going to cry about it, or are you going to come home and are you going to rehab and get better, and I'll get you to another spot, and then you're going to dominate from there. And that's what he did. Right. So the mental aspect is understanding that is what people can start working on now. But if you're even younger, that dialogue is like, look, you know, your game, obviously you understand you have to be good at basketball, so continue working at your game to put up numbers and to be the best. But start now with working on your relationships. Start now with working on your mindset. Start now with working on coachability, because if you're going into your senior year and you have 17 technicals over your course of your career, like, it's kind of too late to change it, man. Like, you know, work on that type of stuff that's going to help you be seen more versus just your basketball stuff.
I love it.
In terms of like the dialogue between me and you and a coach in Serbia or something, I mean, we're always talking. So we're asking, you know, what type of, I mean, if a coach from Serbia calls me and says, hey, you know, like we're getting rid of this forward this season, or he's getting a better job, like we need a forward or we need a point guard that can distribute and play defense. I don't care how many points he scores. Cool. So I have that. I kind of, you know, have that idea of what clients might fit that job and how they can take that next step, or who I'm recruiting. And if I don't, I'm calling you and I'm saying, hey, look, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Or, you know, if I have you know, a guy that is currently playing somewhere and I have a good relationship with their coach in the club that they're in, I'm going to call them. And obviously I've been to their games and I visit them and I know their game, but I'm going to say, hey, you know, what do you think? You know, what do you think of player X, Y, or Z going to this different league? How do you think it's going to translate? What do you think he needs to work on the most from here and taking the stepping stone from your team? And I'm going to call you and say, hey, like, this player, I saw that you trained him a couple of years ago. He fits everything. Like, is he a dick?
Right.
Or like, what time did he show up? What time did he leave? So that's the type of dialogue that we really talk about. But it's not just what agents are looking for. It's what you're looking for. It's what me and you talk about. It's what coaches are looking for. It's what me and them talk about. It's what GMs make sure before they sign those papers. Everyone's on the same page. It's the same thing as college recruiting, except it's on steroids, and you're now taking a step up in not just the 1% of talent, but the 0.01% of talent.
I love it. And this, like, if you can take away anything from what he's trying to tell you, it's so much more about just the basketball aspect, and everyone laser focuses on, okay, what can I do with this ball? He talks about the mental side. What's your mindset? What are you doing? What kind of person, what kind of character you are? All those things outweigh what kind of basketball player you are. It's what kind of person you really are. And I think that that's like such a great thing to like kind of mic drop on. That's the ball stops bouncing for everyone in life. It stopped bouncing for me, you, and literally everyone that's ever played this game. It's about the way you treat people, what you create along the way. Real relationships are important, not just making fake relationships and just be like, yeah, I know that person, right? It's about who truly knows who you are, what you've done, how you conduct yourself on a daily basis, being consistent. There's so many things that go into it, but he's like, coming from an agent and a coaches and what we're looking for, yes, there's 100,000 people that are like you that can play like you. How are you different? How do you treat people? What are your interests like off the court? What are you doing in those other 19 hours a day where you're not lifting, hooping, those kinds of things? What are you doing to make yourself better or to put yourself in a better position to succeed, you know, off the court later in life? I love it, man. Those are such great golden nuggets that you've given us, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean that's
man. This
about
was
it.
awesome. No, this was awesome, man.
I'm definitely going to be saving this and probably reposting this. So much
For
knowledge
sure.
drops here in this hour. I appreciate everyone coming by. I see my guy Matt and Kyle popped in at the end, and I appreciate you guys. And you know, it is what it is, man. Kev, you got anything else you want to say, or what's going on?
No, that's it, man. I mean, if I can help answer any questions, feel free to DM me or hit me with a text, or you know. And if you do, like I said before, don't just say hi, or just send me a link to your highlight. You know, like use that relationship and use that knowledge, and you know, tell me how I can help, and I'll try.
I love it. And same goes for me. If you ever have a question or anything, please feel free to reach out to me, and I do my best to answer as quick as possible. And let's be honest, there's a reason why this guy is the real deal, and that's because he's from the beautiful state of Connecticut. So, or he played in the state of Connecticut.
Yep. Connecticut's second home, so.
Connecticut, New Jersey, you know, he's a tri-state guy.
Same
so he's real, he's authentic, he's true to what he means. And if you ever need anything, Kev, you know how to hear me, bro.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll do it again soon.
All right, my man. Have a great weekend. Let's get it.
You too.